Happy Thanksgiving! I'm Jen Spencer, and this is Jen Spencer's 10-Minute Book Club. Hello, sweet romance readers. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of Jen Spencer's 10-Minute Book Club. Tonight, I will be interviewing Karen Thornell, who is the author of To Marry an Earl. It's a really fun, sweet Regency romance, and I think you are going to be very excited to hear from Karen. As always, if you make a comment or ask a question in the comment section below, you'll be entered to win a copy of Karen's book, To Marry an Earl, or my new romance, 6 Kisses for Christmas, which is a collection of stories that I wrote with my 5 sisters. So now I'm very excited to introduce Karen Thornell. Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just great. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
We are really excited to hear from you. Karen and I met at a readers event, and then we realized we don't live that far from each other, and her aunt-in-law is a good friend of mine. So we have a few connections. So I was really excited to be able to do this interview. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into writing and stuff like that.
So I am what I affectionately term myself to be a baby author. I'm brand new at this. I started writing only in 2019, though I read voraciously growing up. But that's when I'm a mom of 2, and my husband is a lawyer, but at that time he was studying for the bar. And I just had our second, and I just needed, before that I had been a photographer. I really liked creative outlets. But now I needed to be home for at least a while. And so I needed something. And my husband suggested that I try writing a book, which I thought was a great idea, because my hormonal self would get so sad when I finished a book that I loved and like had to close the door on those characters and like not know what happened to the rest of like their life. Yeah. So I was like, I'll make my own, and then they'll live in my head forever. So I'll always have them with me. So that's how I got started. And now I have great. 2 little novellas and a full length out, which is really fun.
So the full length is
To Marry an
Earl, and it looks so delightful. Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's a Regency romance, and I'm probably biased, but I think my publisher, Covenant Communications, did an amazing job with the cover. I think it's so beautiful.
Pretty. Yeah.
And it is essentially the premise is that the heroine's father is deep in debt, and he's tired of footing the bill for a daughter that he never wanted. So he decides that he's just going to marry her off to the highest bidder, who, unbeknownst to her, ends up being her old childhood friend who disappeared from her life without any explanation as to why. So she gets shipped off to his house as his betrothed for a party. And I won't give away too much, but following is kind of a mashup of tropes. We have a mistaken identity and friends to lovers. There's even a dash of suspense in there. So I think it's pretty fun. I'm definitely biased.
It sounds so great. Well, so do you have more books planned kind of with the same family of characters, or even in the same genre?
Yes, I definitely do. I have 5 books planned in kind of a series of standalones where you'll see cameos from former characters, but not like, you don't need to read them in order. They're all their own little love stories. And Covenant has already accepted the 2nd book, so it should come out next year. And it's I'm currently doing edits on it, and I like that one too. So that's good.
That is good. Usually after I finish a book, like the day after I finish it, I just hate it. I think it's like the worst book I ever wrote. And then I go back after 2 or 3 weeks and read it again. And I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Right? You find those gems. You're like, I wrote that? Wow.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I remember my very first book I wrote. It was an Amish, and I went to this, I spoke at a book club. I was a baby writer too. And one of the readers there at the book club, she read a passage from my book and she said, how did you get this idea? This was really good. And I'm like, thank you. I don't know. Sometimes it just comes out, right?
That's so funny. I had a similar experience where someone made a quote from my Regency novella, and they made it all pretty, and posted it on Instagram. And I was about to like it and write, wow, I really I love this quote. And then I realized that it was from my own book. And I was like, I don't even remember it. So, it's nice.
I love that. Cool. So can you remember the quote?
Oh, goodness. I think that one, it was from Pursuing Miss Hall, which is my Regency novella. And I think it was something about how the judgments of others will always reflect more on them than they will on you. So,
lovely.
Yes. Good thing to remember.
Yes. Well, so you said you have 2 novellas and this are, and I can't remember what you said. Are they all Regency?
So the first novella that I released was kind of just for fun. And it's actually a contemporary Christmas novella that I released last December. And I have plans for those characters as well in like a contemporary series. But right now I'm currently focusing on the Regencies.
On the Regency. Do you prefer one over the other? One time?
I don't think so. I think they're similar enough that it's not too hard to jump back and forth between the two of them, because they're both romances and they both are, I think, enjoyable to write. Sometimes it's nice because the Regencies will get a little bogged down with research and everything. So I almost see going to contemporary as a little bit of a break, but then, it's writing. So no matter what, it's not particularly easy. So the only thing I like going back and forth between each of them. Sometimes I'll get burnt out of one and I'll go to the other one. I just have to watch my language, because I will find that I'll go start writing a contemporary after working on a Regency, and I'll read back through a chapter and it's like super stiff, like really proper. And then I'll do the same, but the opposite. I'll be like, I don't think that they use that word in the Regency. so I have to watch that, but otherwise I enjoy it.
Well, one thing I love writing about contemporary is just that very thing. It feels like less work because it's just how everybody talks. It's how I talk, and you can do so many pop culture references and just stuff that you can't do in historicals. So
exactly.
I agree. Exactly. It feels easier. It feels like it flows better. So
yep. And then on the flip side, it's like those historicals and having to do research. It's kind of like escaping to a different time. So they both have their fun for sure.
Yes, they really do. Well, okay, we're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you a couple questions. First, what is your favorite romantic movie?
Oh man, put me on the spot. I have a ton. Obviously, I love the historical movies. I love Pride and Prejudice. I love all those BBC. Oh. But if I were to sit down right now and pop in a movie, the one that I'm almost always trying to get people to watch with me is Austenland. And I just think
love that
one. So fun and so hilarious. And it just never fails to make me happy.
That is such a good one. I agree. I love that movie too. Okay, so now here's on the opposite end. What is like the worst movie you have seen, but you still think everyone should see it?
Oh man. See, that's even harder because I feel like I block the worst movies out of your mind, right? I would say that the movies that I almost always go into, this is going to sound terrible because they're not all this way, but the movies that I almost always at least go into expecting it to be bad, but for me to fully enjoy it, are like the Hallmark Christmas movies. Like you'll occasionally get a gem that was like, that was a good movie, but most of the time they're like the same plot, but you just
same plot, same dialogue.
Exactly what you need at Christmas. And I think everybody needs to at least watch one Hallmark Christmas movie each season. Well, Christmas season. And you know what you're getting. Like at the end you're getting your happily ever after and some snow, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Christmas. Yep. So well, good. Okay, last question. If you're on a desert island, would you choose a lifetime supply of toilet paper or chocolate?
Definitely chocolate.
Oh,
100%, hands down, no questions asked. I just adore chocolate, but also like I feel like that's a smart choice because you at least have something to eat. Like, what if I can't forage for my own food? I have chocolate to eat.
that's true. That is a good.
You know.
All right, I like that answer. We've had kind of 50-50 with that answer.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Karen, thank you so much for being here. I have had a great time. Readers, thank you for being here. I hope that you'll pick up a copy of To Marry an Earl. It sounds like a wonderful book. And remember, if you make a comment or ask a question below, you'll be automatically be entered to win a copy of Karen's book, To Marry an Earl, and a copy of my book that I wrote with my 5 sisters, 6 Kisses for Christmas. It's a contemporary Christmas with 6 really fun stories. So please be sure to comment. Karen, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much.
You have a great day.
You too.